I personally love it when video games have mini-games within the game, and WoW is chock full of them. This video will go over some of the mini-games in WoW that you should try out that you might have missed. Or not, because lots of these will be pretty well known as well. The Badlands has a few mini-games disguised as quests. First up, we've got the Warden's game. For this minigame, you have to move the little golems around so that they all face towards the middle. It's a little bit like a pitcher scramble game and pretty easy once you know the trick to it. Tronka's Troubles is a minigame where you have to play a tower defense turret style game, where you move around and shoot down the trogs before they can make it to your cannon, and you have to survive a handful of waves. And the Sentinel game is a quest where you have to play a laser maze, and move the golems around to navigate a laser from one end of the room to the other. Next up we have the Blingatron Circuit Design Tutorial. This toy item allows you to play an Untangled-like mini-game wherever you want. The game is simple in concept, click on the corners in order to untangle the picture, but gets harder and harder as you go on, until it gets to some ridiculous levels of tanglement. I personally only got to around level 5 before giving up, but I think it goes all the way up to level 20. The toy is created by engineers, so you can just buy it off the auction house, or make one yourself if you have the mats for it. The DARKMOON fair is chock full of minigames, as that's kind of the point of the zone. My favorite of the DARKMOON fair minigames is the Star Fox flying game. Similar to the Alyssa Resort fight in FIRE, you get a flaming wing buff and get to fly around the fair collecting flaming rings. The more you collect, the longer you get to stay airborne. If you manage to get enough rings in a short amount of time, you also get an achievement and a toy that allows you to gain the flaming wings as a cosmetic appearance outside of the fair. In Mists of Pandaria, located in the middle of the Valley of Four Winds, is a Farmville type game. Through a series of quests, you have to restore the farm, till the land, plant the seeds, water the plants, and pull the weeds. Then you get to collect the harvest a day later and do it all over again. Since this is a Mist era game, pretty much all of the things you can plant are only useful for Mist level professions and gear, with the only really useful feature with today's WoW being the rep you can get from planting things, in case you need some of that Mist rep, which some of them are still really good. So there's a reason for some players to still do the tiller stuff even today. Outside of course, the minigame aspect of it. At around the Wrath era of WoW, there were two popular minigame add-ons that were fully fledged working games inside the game, called BEJEWELED and PEGGLE. BEJEWELED is a match 3 tiles puzzle game, and PEGGLE is a pachinko-style drop a ball and try to knock out all the targets game. Now, there's no official support for these two games anymore on Curse, but I have heard rumors of people getting them to work in modern WoW. There's another minigame toy called Jewelcraft. Jewelcraft is a Bejeweled-like game where you have to swap around 2 objects to create matches of 3 or more characters in a row. Unlike the Bejeweled add-on, you don't have to worry about this game breaking on a new patch or expansion, and can be played from all of your characters basically anywhere. Only there doesn't seem to be a limit on the high score. You just keep playing and playing forever until you get the 2500,000 score achievement, or you just get bored. So whereas in Bejeweled, there's a sense of progression by passing levels, this version doesn't really have any of that. The toy can be made by jewel crafters using Legion mats, so you can just buy it off the auction house or make it yourself if you have the mats. Shaman's got a few class-specific minigames in Legion. Inside their order hall, there is a lights out-like minigame, where you have to click on totems so that all of the fire totems become water totems. And to do this, you have to click on the totems, which will then convert the ones next to it, and you just keep doing this until you fill them all up with water totems. They also have a few minigames out in the Broken Isles. One is to help out a water elemental by running around with water walking on and avoiding sharks while collecting little bubbles. The other is to avoid tornadoes to help out a wind elemental. There's also an earth version, but for that one you don't play a minigame and instead just kill some mobs. In Mount Hyjal, there is a quest where you can play Joust, and then at the end of it get a pet. This quest works a lot like the arcade game, in that you hop on a bird flying around trying to collect eggs while jumping on top of other jousters. Once you do the quest once, you're able to go back and repeat it for an achievement, I think. There's also a jousting mini-game you had to do in the Argent tournament that was not very well liked, as it was required for a dungeon fight and a few daily quests, but I guess still kinda counts as a mini-game. So I'm just putting it in here with the Joust segment. In the Hillsbrad Foothills, there's a quest called PEACEBLOOMS vs. GHOULS, where you play a version of Plants vs. Zombies. Plants vs. Zombies is a tower defense game where you collect sunlight on screen in order to put out plants, who perform a variety of tasks like producing more sunlight, attacking the zombies, slowing them down, or a few other things to stop the zombies from getting to the base in some other ways, shapes, and form. Once you complete this small quest chain, you are awarded with a singing sunflower pet, who has a few distinctions. For one, it's good in PvP, and two, it's one of the few pets with voice lines. So if you spam summon and dismiss it in a group setting, you can piss off other people.
Sunflower, 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 sunflower.
Also, there is a daily quest to play the game again, if you so wish to do so, after doing the quest chain as well. Now, I'm not sure if this counts as a minigame or not, but the Withered training scenario was like an old school dungeon crawler in which you go into the undergrounds of Siramar with an army of Withered, and tell them to attack things while trying to keep them alive. Throughout the dungeons, you fight bosses, find treasures, and upgrades for your Withereds to make them stronger for the next time you run through the place. Withered training is meant to be done over and over again, as the upgrades to your Withereds only apply after the dungeon is over, but they are permanent upgrades, so once you've done it enough time, you'll have a pretty strong army capable of plowing through the place for the rewards. The Brawlers Guild also has a few little mini-games you have to play while killing the bosses. One of the most infamous ones being having to play Super Hexos while doing a tight DPS check. Some of the KIRIN Tour world quests are just mini-games instead of the traditional stuff. Barrels O' Fun is a watch the cup type game where one of the barrels gets highlighted and you have to pay close attention to it as it gets shuffled. Then as you progress, more and more barrels are added to make it harder to follow. And then there's the Memory Follow the Path game, where you're shown a pattern on the ground and then have to walk over the tiles in order to create the exact same pattern. Stepping on even one wrong tile will end the round, and you win after getting 3 correct total. Not 3 in a row, just getting 3 of them correct eventually. In High Mountain, there is a mini-game Aviana will let you do where she'll send you high into the air and then fall down gently while trying to collect rings. If you manage to collect all of them before hitting the floor, you'll get a pretty useful Emerald Winds toy. And finally, the biggest minigame in WoW, Pet Battles. Pet Battles is the largest minigame within a game in WoW, and functions very similarly to Pokemon. Although one of the biggest differences is that Pet Battle content is tuned almost exclusively around max level content. In Pokemon, you can beat the game with pretty much any group of 6 high enough leveled Pokemon, which is not the case at all in Pet Battles. There's no such thing as a main team, as you basically are always underpowered against your opponents and have to choose correct types in matches in order to exploit their weaknesses. All Pet Battle content added to the game stays max level content consistently with each new expansion, and because of that, the later you start doing them, the more and more there is to do. There's the single legendary pets scattered across Pandaria, the Tannin Jungle, and Argus. Despite them being added in different expansions, they are all equal endgame PvE Pet Battle content, with the only differences between them being the mechanics and abilities they use and the rewards given. You also have the epic tamers in Pandaria, Draenor, and the Broken Isles, plus a few solo scenarios to do in the form of the Celestial Tournament and the Pet Battle Dungeons. The Celestial Tournament is the ultimate Pet Battle challenge, and is a lot like trying to take on the Elite Four, only without being able to heal up your pets in between rounds. So it requires a lot of planning and strategy to beat, even if you have an army of max level pets to throw at it. Same with the Pet Battle Dungeons. On normal mode you can heal your pets, but on heroic you can't, so it requires a lot of different pets to clean up the trash pets and to beat the boss pets of different types. And that's not even mentioning the collection aspect, PvP, or leveling pets efficiently, which are all just as big parts of the minigame as well. Alright, and that's the end of the video. Even though I covered a lot of minigames in this video, I didn't cover all of them. If you know any good ones I missed, I'd love to hear about them down in the comments.